Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to create a frame animation in Adobe Photoshop. So let's get straight into it. Alrighty, so to start off today, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a background and you're going to need the subject of which you're going to animate. So if you saw my last video with the video timeline animation, we're going to do a frame animation. We're going to use the same axe and the same background, except this time it's going to be a frame animation. And it's going to be a little bit more simpler, but it's going to take a lot longer. So the frame animation and the video timeline each have their own strengths and their own weaknesses. With the video timeline, its strength was that it filled in all the gaps between each keyframe, and with the frame animation you have to fill in all the gaps, but you also have a little bit more control over what you want to do. So to start off, here we have our axe and our background, and then as you will need to do, just like you did with the video timeline animation, if that's where you're going to create, you go window down the timeline, and then it'll bring up this right here. So then what you can want to do, I just keep mine up over here for the time being. What you can want to do is you originally have it set to create video timeline. You want to hit this drop down arrow and click create frame animation and click on that. So then you'll see up here how this is set to 1 second. So we're actually going to drag this down, scooch that over, bring this over here, make it a little bit bigger, that way we can kind of see what we're working with. Okay, so here we have this, and as you'll see here, this has this is originally set to 1 frame. That's what it's created. So as you see right away, we have a bunch of different options here. We have this button right here, which is, we can convert this to a video timeline if we do prefer to do so. And this right here is the loop it'll be set on. I'll get into this a little bit later when we have an animation. And then we can skip to the very beginning, go back 1 frame, play from a certain frame, or skip 1 frame. And then over here, this is the one we got to start with, where we create a bunch of new frames. But before you click that, what I recommend you do is have everything in the position you want it to start in. So with the axe, I want it to start over here. Okay. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of new frames. Let's create 10 frames for now. You can create as much as you'd like. So then here I can move the axe just a little bit forward. And then if we go back 1 frame, you'll notice that it's picking that up. So then we go jump to this frame. We can bring it a little more forward. This one a little more forward. And this one a little bit more forward. And then if we go start from the beginning, press play, you can kind of see that it's jumping a little bit. So let's say though I want a brief pause in between. So here, let's go here first, and then let's keep moving these more forward and more forward to eventually to the point where it's going to run off the screen. Now, we go back to the beginning and press play. You'll see that it looks like it's going faster. And now let's say I want a little bit of a waiting time in between each of these frames. So what I can do, I can go back to the start and then jump forward 1 frame to frame number 2. Now this is what these mean right here, the 0 second. I click down here and I have the option no delay, 0.1, 0.2, 0.5, 1, 2, 5, or 10 seconds. You can also manually input if you choose to do so for a little bit more customization. But let's say I want a 1 second. I'll show you this just to get the dramatic review of it. So notice right away, boom, it jumps to 1 and then wait, goes, wait, and go. That's what that means right there. So let's say, and now like I said, like I promised you earlier, how I would say forever. this little button right here, I can click once and it runs through the animation one time, stopping at the last frame. So that's just the basic overview. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to make it more consistent with each frame, because as you notice, if we watch the animation again, let's reset this, set this back to no delay. You notice how it looks, and we'll put it on forever. We'll notice how it looks kind of consistent to start, and then at the end it just whoop, right off the screen. Like it goes way faster than it did over here. There's actually a really consistent way to do this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click the second frame, hold down Shift, and then press Delete for all these other frames. And yep. So now we're back to just our one frame, our starting frame. So a quick way to do this is you can have as many layers as you like. So here's how this is going to help us out. If I have the axe layer selected over here, Control J, and then I press Control J, it makes a copy. So let's say I want to make 10 copies. So we'll go until it says copy 9. So there we go. And then if you want to make this a little bit easier, like let's say you have a bunch of other layers in your background, we can click on the bottom, go to the top, hold down Shift, and then press Control G. And it puts us into this little group. We'll call these axes. Alright, so here we have these, and all of these are in the same place as one another. So as you see, I'm hiding a bunch of them, and once I hide all of them, boom, they're gone. I can select any one, and boom, it'll reappear right there. So, for a little bit more organization, we're going to call axe, we're going to call that 1. And then for this one, we're going to call it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we don't want layer style. And 10. Alright, so this is a little bit of a way you can make it more organized. So we're going to try on number 1. And then to start again, to review, we're going to press this one, make 10 new frames. I'm going to make this a little bit wider so we can see all 10 of our frames. Perfect. Okay, so as you notice in frame 1, the only one I have visible is the axe labeled number 1. Okay, and then with 2, when we click on 2, we'll notice this is still eyeballed. We don't want it eyeballed. So then we can hide that. And as you notice, if we jump back from frame 1, you'll notice only 1 is eyeballed and 2 is not. Jump to frame 2, only 2 is eyeballed and 1 is not. This is how we're going to allow us to make that smooth transition across each frame. So then we'll just do that real quick. Hide that, turn on number 3, 4, 5, and this is why I want to label each individual axe as what frame it's going to correspond to. This way you know exactly which one is coming before and coming after the other axe. This is going to help you make a lot smoother of a transition between your frames. Alright, so there we go. We have them all labeled. And then now here is where we can hide this for the time being, because we already know we have them labeled. So we'll start frame 1 here, where the axe is just coming into the screen on the edge. Now we go over here to our axes and make sure we're clicking on frame 2. This is where we need to reopen it again. And now we want the first one to be activated again, just for a quick second. So we're going to make sure we're selected on number 2 and press Control T. And here you go. We can move it somewhere. Now, this isn't like the video timeline. This is where you actually have to manually move it. So let's say right there, right how it aligns right there. So let's say it like that. I'm going to press enter. And then now this frame updates with that information. So now as you see here, I jump and boom, that axe is now forward again. So now let's say for frame 3, well, guess what? We already know where frame 1 is, but now we want to move it from frame 2. And as you can see, that frame now holds the data as well, where that axe is further along. So now we move this one, press enter, hide it, and we'll do the same thing for 4, show 3, boom, frame 5, Make sure you have both the frame and, see, now here's the thing. Now here's where you gotta be careful. It's like what I just did right there. I went from here and did not, and accidentally eyeballed 5 before I went into frame 5. Always make sure you're on the frame that you want before you eyeball that frame. Alright, so then we go take the number 1 and number 5. And right here, good. Now let's say I want this axis start spinning like halfway through for some reason. I can actually turn this, like let's say right there at about a 50 degree angle. I can press enter, and it's still a little bit forward. Hide number 4, 5, or with number 6, excuse me. And here, move this a little more forward, and then I can rotate completely upside down. Hide it, and then move to number 7. Make sure axis number 7 is selected. And then make that right there. Press enter. Oh, and then make sure we go frame number 8. And then now let's say this is to the point where it's going to be going that should be and this is the weird part where you sometimes get something like this. Whoops. Get something like this. We have frame number 8. Go Control T, press enter. Go over here to frame 9. For some reason, this is now not coming up. It's good. Here's the good news. If that ever happens, you might want to shift that frame over to the end point. Because you see here, this is that axis starting to leave the screen. That's okay. Now we can go here and we can just keep moving it off the screen. And now by frame 10, the axis completely off the is almost completely off the screen. So now if we rewind from the beginning and we press play, you notice that we not only have the spinning animation in the middle, but now it's a lot more smoother across the board. So now let's say we want to add a little bit of delay, like go 0.1 second. We can select each of these individually and add a small delay so that way it's a little easier to track. And start from the beginning. And there you go. So see, it's a lot more consistent across the screen. That's how you would do that. You create each individual layer of the subject that's moving across the screen or that's being animated, and you label it according to each timeline or each frame in the timeline. This is how you get a lot more of a consistent animation with it. So now another question, how do you export this? So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, so once it's done, you want to go to export, right? And then you go to save for web legacy. And then from here, make sure that you have GIF selected. And then you press save. And then you choose the place in which you want. Let's say I just wanted to go into my PC, and then let's just go and we'll put in this YouTube videos folder that I created. And then save, and boom, let it render. And it's going to be there when you're all done. And I'll quickly show you. And as you can pull it up, and it just starts, there's your animation. Alright, so this has been a Photoshop Insights tutorial. If you have any questions about the frame animation feature or a different feature in Photoshop, please leave in the comment section below. Also, if you have any ideas on a future video for me to do and you'd like to see a tutorial on it, let me know in the comments as well. And this has been Photoshop Insights, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.